With us now, senior correspondent John Mill and legal analyst Jack Ford. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
What is your reaction, both of you, to this kind of behavior by the attorneys and their client?
You know, this has been an odd case from the very beginning, unusual from the very beginning, starting with the law in Florida, which is so different from so many other states. But it's even more curiouser and curiouser, as they say in the literary world, but to have the lawyers standing up and saying, well, we no longer represent him. By the way, after a month or so, we haven't even actually met with him yet. We've talked with him on the phone about a variety of things, but all of a sudden we find out now he's out talking to media folks. He's reaching out for the prosecutor himself.
But why accept a case in which you have not yet talked to the client?
Well, that happens. You know, oftentimes the first thing you get is a phone call from somebody, and they might say, look, a family member is in jail, for instance. Can you talk with them? Talk with me first. So preliminary conversations, initial conversations by phone are not terribly unusual, but usually at some point in time you're going to want to sit down with the client and especially give them some instructions. Most importantly, you don't talk to anybody unless I give you the okay and unless I'm there with you. So it's another unusual piece of this puzzle.
John?
Well, if you look at the developments of yesterday, and I spoke to one of the top criminal defense lawyers in Florida yesterday who said what you're seeing here is the perfect storm of insanity was actually the term he used. But if you look at the tactical piece of this, if I'm the prosecutor and my point of contact is these attorneys, because I can't talk to this guy, he's represented, as Jack pointed out, at some point I may say we're going to bring a charge, produce your client, bring them to court. I am now in a different place, which is A, he's not represented, B, I've lost my link to him if they're supposed to produce him. So I'm going to say, I want my investigators out. I want to know where he is, if I don't already. I want eyes on that location. And this was then followed by announcements saying, within 72 hours, we're going to call a press conference. We're going to give you 3 hours notice. To me, that suggests the wheels are turning for them to say, we want to know where he is. We want to have people there. And if I give the signal to pick him up, I want to be in a position to do that. So let's throw the big complicator in there, because the lawyers told us yesterday, appropriately or otherwise, that they think he's out of state, which means the Florida authorities can't pick him up. They have to get the local authorities there and maybe go for extradition.
Well, so that brings the next question. You said, you know, if they know where he is, then the investigators start looking into it. Do you think at this point law enforcement knows where George Zimmerman is? Because initially it seemed, hey, at least we're going to keep tabs on him, but we're not going to tell anybody for obvious reasons.
Well, that's a fascinating question, because in the beginning, what law enforcement said was, and this was from the Sanford police, we are in contact with him, which is different from we know where he is. Now you fast forward weeks and weeks later, and when they're represented, after he's represented by lawyers, as Jack has said, they're not allowed to be in contact with him. So it's entirely uncertain to me whether they actually do know where he is, and that's going to be a factor here.
John, Jack, thank you so much.
All right, Charlie.